right, welcome to your favorite weekly ritual known as the Ultimate Hockey Show, your favorite hockey show, or one of your favorite hockey shows if you keep tuning us in. We thank you for tuning us in. The last, I don't even know how long we've been doing this. Welcome to the Ultimate Hockey Show. I'm Michael John. Look who's back. After 2 weeks away, welcome back, Red Petty.
Thank you, Michael. It's nice to be back. It's nice to know that I can go on a holiday and I can come back and I don't have to worry about losing my job.
Nope. Rob Somerville did a terrific job
I know he did.
filling in for you the last 2 weeks. I appreciate that on Rob's part, so we could keep the show going. Just critically where we are in the season. Very critical week coming up for the Winnipeg Jets here. That goes without saying.
Yep.
We'll get to that in just a minute. But Rich, your last show was a couple of weeks ago. Just wondering your thoughts. I know you said you caught highlights and whatnot of the games while you were away. Is there anything that stands out to you? I mean, Rob and I talked about the 2 weeks, the week leading in, the week coming out, and then you and I obviously didn't talk about this week coming up. But is there anything that stands out to you?
Well, since I've been gone, I think I heard that. That's since you've been gone. That's it's an old pop song. But anyway, since you've been gone. But anyway, the Jets went while I was gone. They had 7 games, and they
Yep.
played a very average 4-3 while I was gone. So, and what I found actually pretty surprising. I don't know if you thought the same thing, but just on initial note, out of the 3 losses, I mean, LA is a good team. LA plays playoff hockey. That game against LA, like you watch that game, that's what LA is going to do to Vegas. They're going to do it to Edmonton. They're going to do it if they play Winnipeg, wherever they play. That's their game. They
I mean,
grind.
they did it to Edmonton on the weekend on Saturday afternoon. I don't know how much.
In the middle. The only way that you're going to beat LA is you got to play that game rope a dope. It's you just got to play, wait for your chances, play smart defensively, and you got to score first. You cannot beat LA if you go down 1-0. It's, I wouldn't say impossible. It's next to impossible. But you go down to 2-0 against LA.
Yeah.
That's almost next to impossible to win. Even if that's in the first period, like the Jets were down to 2-0 the first period. I said, I don't know. They're going to score 3 goals against LA like this. It's just, but anyway. So that being said, LA's a good team. But the other 2 games they lost, Utah 4-1 and the Sabres 5-3. 2 of the worst teams in the league. Mm-hmm. And they lay a rotten egg on those 2 games. It's inexcusable. And then they beat Washington 3-2. They beat Vegas 4-0. But they lose to 2 of the worst teams. I just can't figure it out. Well, it's hockey, right? That's why they say trying to bet on sports is one of the most frustrating things. And I think if you're a bettor on the Jets, you're even more frustrated trying to figure out what's the right thing to bet on or not, because it makes no sense to me. They looked so blah yesterday against Utah. They looked fantastic against Vegas. Mm-hmm. They looked blah against LA. And they played well against Jersey, and Washington was a good game. It was back and forth. Could have gone either way. It was overtime, right?
Yep.
Vancouver 3-1. But that game against the Sabres, that was not good. Losing to the Sabres at home 5-3.
Rhett, I'll have to correct you. I think the Jets deserved a better fate in that 3-1 game. Or the 5-3 game against Buffalo. They dominated that game. They could not beat James Reimer.
Okay.
But I mean, they fired 40-something shots on net and couldn't beat Reimer. But
yeah,
by the same token, they couldn't get a save from Eric Comrie on that afternoon. They kept, Klein back, pulling within 1, and then they give up a critical goal shortly thereafter to go down 2. And
right.
I was talking to Rob, I think, shortly thereafter, and I said, hey, at some point, Comrie has to bear responsibility for this team because he can't make a critical save, to get them back in it. But that's neither here nor there. We are here where the Winnipeg Jets are in a critical stretch this week, starting with the St. Louis Blues tonight. By the way, just a quick correction in the comments. Chad tells us that the song "Since You've Been Gone" is actually a Kelly Clarkson
It
song.
is Kelly. I thought it was Avril Lavigne, but it is Kelly Clarkson.
So just
Thank you, Kat.
just for we did that kind of out of the way. The other thing is, since you've been gone, if you want to use that word while we're on that train, the St. Louis Blues have not lost.
I know. But the St. Louis Blues can't catch the Jets. And if the Jets get first place, they're not going to play St. Louis. That's going to be Vegas is
Minnesota.
going to have to deal with St. Louis, and that's fine with
Yeah.
me. But that being said, the Jets and the Stars, they got 5 games left. The Jets are up by 3 points. I think the Jets also have the advantage on the regulation wins. I think so if they're tied, right, I think the Jets have the advantage.
I'm just looking right now.
I'm pretty sure.
It is right now. They're tied in regulation wins at 41, but the Jets have the ROW, which is the second tiebreaker, 51-48.
Yeah.
So yes, it would go through Winnipeg.
If they're
as
tied.
of right now,
if they're tied, right. So just think about this: the Jets got 5 games left. So if the Jets go 2-2-1, so they win against Anaheim and Chicago, they lose to Edmonton and Dallas, and they go to overtime and lose to St. Louis or whatever that is. So they go 2-2-1. That's 5 points in their last 5 games. That means the Stars need to go. They need to get 8 points. They need to get 9 points to overwhelm them, which means they got to go 4-0-1 to outright win or tie 4-1 or go 5. Like, all I'm just saying is the Stars are running out of time. You know, if the Stars lose, it really doesn't matter. If the Jets win, it's divided. But even like the other night, like that was last night, the Stars lost to the Penguins. That was funny. The 2 Stars defensemen skated into each other, knocked the puck off each other, and then the 2 Penguins go in with the 2-0 with like a minute and a half left in the game. It was very funny. So, you know, the Penguins win on the road in Dallas. And you figure, oh, great, now the Jets got a chance. It's like a 4-point night. Mm-hmm. Dallas stays there. The Jets are playing a crappy, well, not crappy. They're not great, Utah. They're whatever. They're a non-playoff team. And they lay a turd like that. I just, whatever. But the runway is still running out on the Stars. That's the problem, is they're running out of time to catch the Jets. So if the Jets go 3-2, that's 6 points. That is like, that means that's almost the Stars need to win outright.
And especially if one of those 3 wins happens to be Thursday night.
Correct. And if the Jets win against Dallas here at home on the road on Thursday, which is a tall order, winning in Dallas, but
it's a tall order. But I think, Rick, everything aside and everything that's happened, if you would have told me that the Jets would go into the last 2 weeks of the season with a chance to win the conference in the regular season, never mind the President's Trophy, I would have been all over that.
True.
Like, that's the thing that people need to keep in perspective here. Yes, they had a historic start. Yes, they've lost some games that they maybe shouldn't have lost. At the end of the day, what happens from this point forward, if you would have told me that, hey, you know, we are 12, 11 days out from a playoff, which would be in a week from Saturday, hey, the Jets have a chance in the last 5 games to control what happens, not only in the conference, but in the division, and perhaps even the President's Trophy, based on the way the Washington Capitals are playing, who we'll get to in just a moment. I would have taken that. And listen, this hockey team is going to have to deal with adversity. They're not going to go through the Stanley Cup playoffs 16-0. It's just not going to happen. We did get some good news today on the injury front. Looks like Gabriel Velarde is going to start skating after taking the freak injury with Buffalo. That did not happen soon enough. I'm led to believe now. Again, my forensics might not be the best. I would not be shocked if it is a back injury for Gabriel Velarde. He had a couple instances in that Buffalo game where he goes into the boards. Kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's a back injury, something of that nature.
Did they call it upper body injury? Is that what they said?
They've been very mysterious about it. And I don't know, like you were out of town, but like the next, 4 or 5 days, the rumors were flying around like he's not even going to be available for the playoffs. He's not even going to be available, for the rest of the regular season, right? And fair enough. Like the rumors were just flying. But again, it seems like we finally have some concrete answers. The other thing was Nikolai Ehlers, and Rich, I want to say you maybe saw that game in Vegas. But what happened there when he took the puck off the knee, took the puck off the back of the leg, blocked a couple more shots, and eventually
Why
had
are
to
these
find
guys
a way.
turning their ankles sideways when they're blocking shots? I don't get in that first one, like the one where he got hurt and then he came back. He's skating up like this with your toes, and then right as the guy shoots, he turns like, here, shoot me in the ankle. Like I just don't get it. Like that's the whole point of being forward is you get the puck in your shin pad, your knee pad, and on the toe of your skate where you got the most padding. I don't get why they turn sideways. Maybe it's because they figure they can block more because it's a bigger, like the foot being sideways is a larger block, but I don't know. It just always seems that. And then the other one was Perfetti just taking a shot and he's right in front of the net and he gets hit. I mean, that's a fluke. You could shoot that 1,000 times and if he gets hit once, that's the time, right? So
Well, I'll tell you, not to make silliness of the situation, which could have been very serious. I had flashbacks to Brian Little. Now it wasn't that bad, but we all know what happened when Brian Little got one of those opposite of the year, right? I mean, free chance, his career is done, and hasn't been seen or been on the ice since. Minus that retirement lap that happened last year where the Jets gave him his time and that was that, or maybe it was earlier this year. But no, in hindsight, Rich, I think the Jets are going to be okay. But I'll pose to you this question: did the game on Saturday put any more importance on the ability for the Winnipeg Jets, or the need, so to say, to get Nikolai Ehlers on a new contract as soon as possible?
To get who on a contract?
Nikolai Ehlers.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to do anything before the end of the year, are they? Hang on, you keep talking. I got to deal with the dogs.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, no, I was, kind of taking a bath at the lot of zone entry, the lot of speed, a lot of creativity on the power play. I know they did a power play goal from Scheifele, but to me, I know this is an off-season question, but I think it's pretty important to just get Nikolai Ehlers back, just based on what I saw in the one game where it was very clear that the game needed something from Nikolai Ehlers.
Well, he is the majority of the secondary scoring.
And the majority of the power play in my mind too.
Yeah, but he's the third leading scorer in the team after Scheifele and Connor. He's a huge part of the power play, and he's the secondary scoring. He's the driver on that line with Nemestikov and Perfetti. So, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I hope he resigns. I guess what they're saying is they're gonna go through the playoffs, see what happens, and if they can't get him signed or get a commitment that he wants to sign here, then they'll trade his rights right before he becomes a UFA to get something for him, even if that's a second-round draft choice or a third-round draft choice or something, to give his negotiating rights to somebody for a few days or hours before he goes to UFA. So we'll have to see
The,
how that
the,
works out. But I guess what
the,
they're assuming is, to your point, is they
yeah,
look at him as like a trade deadline acquisition, right?
right.
And you didn't
Yeah,
have
I
to
think
give
I
up.
said that. It's
Yeah,
their own trade acquisition.
yeah.
Um,
So
yeah, so the interesting part was too, like, I wonder if the Jets could go the real veteran move and do a sign and trade. Just telling it to Oilers, hey, where do you want to go? Sign the contract for the team and
keep
then trade
talking.
them.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. The other thing is, it's going to be very interesting that way. What the Jets decide to do with Ehlers, but that's neither here nor there. Um, when it comes to what they're going to do, with Nittwa Ehlers. Um, recent recently, also the Jets are getting ready for uh one of their last toughest games of the season, against the St. Louis Blues. Um, Rich, I'll just unmute you here in a minute. There
Sorry.
you go.
Okay.
Yeah, you should be back on now.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I just think, Nittwa Ehlers is a more important part to this team than I think we even realized. And it's a saying of you don't realize what you have until it's gone. I think the same thing could be said about a guy like Dylan Sandberg. Um, the
Mhm.
team's defensive game has dropped off, or did drop off, when he missed all that time with that broken foot. So
Mhm.
it's interesting, right? How teams come and go with certain players. Um, I also feel like the Jets need a little more depth scoring. Um, and I know, in my sort of estimation, I feel the Jets also need a little bit more from their top line at 5-on-5. Um, yeah, Shifley and Connor will score your power play goals, but to me, they've been a little bit MIA the last,
Yeah.
3-4 games at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
But again, that's neither here nor there. I think that comes and goes over the course of an 82 game season, much the same as baseball, where everyone in your batting order isn't quitting for all 182 games, and
True.
you just gotta find a way to work through it. Um, what have you thought about Luke Shen and Brendan Tanev now that it's been a few more weeks since the deadline? Personally, Rich, I think they've come as advertised, and I think they've even brought the best out of Captain Adam Lowry. And a fine example of those three gentlemen's work was the game in Vegas, where they gave the Knights nothing through two periods, and then had to kind of survive a little bit in the third period. But
Yep.
I think that's just nature of the team that's losing going to make a push, in the last period, much like we saw the Jets in Utah. I think the attempted shots on goal was something like 31-9 for the Jets in Utah over the last period. So, but overall, through 40 minutes, I thought the gentleman that I just mentioned played really well, in limiting the Golden Knights to absolutely nothing of substantiality. I think I saw a stat. They only had like 4 or 5 high danger chances in the whole game.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but that's what I'm trying to say is, it would be nice if those guys contributed a little bit more offensively, but maybe not at the expense of their defense.
Well, exactly. And I listen. It's interesting how nobody. Yeah, it's interesting how the games become a little bit tighter. And the last week or two of the season, especially the teams that are fighting for a playoff spot are um, or are fighting for a position within the playoffs, everything tightens up, and the games they're not as free flowing, and it's a little bit harder to find space, and it's harder to get goals. It's harder to earn power plays. Your power play doesn't work as well because guys are willing to sacrifice to block more
Yeah.
shots, and you know what I'm saying. So everything's just tighter. It's a little bit harder, and I just wish we could see the Jets sort of just getting making that next step. Maybe I just haven't seen it yet. I'm wishing for more than what it is, but
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of things that are like the Jets don't look good right now, but I'm going to attribute a lot of that to it's just the grind. They're coming to an end. And the other thing is they're missing a lot of guys. They're missing 4 guys out of their lineup right now. And they're key guys.
Young.
Velarde, Pionk, Ehlers, and Kapari.
Yeah.
Kapari is their 4th line center, right? I mean, he's a big kid. He could skate, plays well defensively. And the problem is now you've shuffled guys. You've moved Iafallo up. Okay, yeah, he's there, but he's not Velarde. And then
Right.
now you've lost Ehlers. You've put somebody else on that line. Now you put Niederreiter up there with Perfetti and with Nemestikov, and then you bring up Tanev to play with Appleton and Lowry, and it's just kind of like a shuffling. And then you got, I mean, I like David Gustafsson. He seems like a nice enough kid, but if everybody's healthy, he's not playing. And actually, the huge challenge is going to be when everybody's healthy, who's going to sit out on that 4th line out of Tanev, Kapari, Barron, and Iafallo. Who's going to sit out of those 4 guys if everybody's healthy?
I don't think it's Tanev. I don't think it's Iafallo. I think it's between Barron and
Kapari.
Kapari.
Whoever they want, whoever they think is better playing at center. That's what I think too. But all that to say, I think the Jets are missing Pionk, and that's the other thing I was going to say. I was going to throw it to you.
Yeah.
I think like now having Schenn play in the second pairing, it's just he's out of place. He's not good enough.
Right. Schenn is in Pionk's spot.
He's up. So they're missing Pionk. Pionk plays with Samberg. They're great together. Second pairing, and in the third pairing, you've got
Loden
Stanley playing with Schenn, or you've got Fleury playing with Schenn, or you have Miller playing with Schenn. That's how it's going to be. If everybody's healthy, that's how it's going to be. And right now, because the Jets are missing Velarde and they're missing Ehlers, they've kind of had to move up 2 guys up in the lineup. And
everybody else is out of place.
Correct. And everybody's out of place, but it just weakens because they're not, the guys that are there are good, but they're not as good, because as if they were, Iafallo would always be playing on the first line and not on the 4th line, right? So I'm just saying it's a little bit of drop. Now you could say every team's experiencing injuries. Yeah. So that's true. But I'm just saying that's why the Jets, to me, they're not. I just think offensively, they're not quite where they should be. Their power play, because they're missing 4 important cogs, and that kind of, now they've got other guys playing up in their lineup, and because of that, it's just not quite what it should be. But yet they're still, like I say, out of the last 10, they're 6-4. They're 4-3 in their last 7. These last 5 games, I mean, realistically, they should beat Chicago and Anaheim without breaking a sweat. And
they should.
And Edmonton is missing their top 2 guys. I don't know if they will be still at that
although point. It sounds like McDavid could be back later this week.
Okay. So,
and it sounds like Draisaitl will be closer to the playoffs as he re-injured himself.
But Edmonton is still struggling. They're not the team that they were last year in the playoffs, or even a few months ago. So they should win. And I'd like to see the Jets put a stamp on those St. Louis Blues. Just pound them like pudding into the ice, run them out of the rink, and beat them 4-1. And have Hellebuck stand on his head, and away we go. And we shut down that. I don't want any more talk about the Blues are the hottest team in the NHL. Blah, 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 blah. Enough already. I've had enough. But anyway.
What have you seen? And Rob brings up an interesting point. He said, don't understand why Anderson Dolan is playing over Kapari and Gustafsson.
Well, Kapari's still injured, isn't he?
Yeah, Kapari's still injured. He just got out of concussion protocol again. He just started skating. And quite honestly, Rob, Jared Anderson Dolan's a lot more physical than David Gustafsson. That's all there is to it. I just, to me, it's Jared Anderson Dolan if you want the physical aspect over what David Gustafsson brings. To me, his game against Vegas, I don't know if you saw it on the PVR or watched it. Anderson Dolan hit everything that moved in that game and was a huge part of why the Vegas Golden Knights got very frustrated.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100%. He plays way more physical than David Gustafsson, and I think when you come playoff time, that's what you want. That's why in that fourth line, when you've got Barron and Tanev playing with Iafallo or Kupari with Tanev and Iafallo, you got to bang, and that's what Tanev is going to do. That's what Morgan Barron does. They just grind and bang, and that's why I think David Gustafsson, he's a little bit like he doesn't know how to play that way. He's a good player, but he's not a great player. And if he's not scoring or at least doing some things well, he does a lot of things okay, but he doesn't do any one thing that pops that makes him that valuable to be in the lineup. And I agree with you. That's why if they want more of a physical component, they have him in there. So I agree with you. Tonight, depending upon what the lineup looks like and who's ready to go and who isn't, I would put in Anderson Dolan before Gustafsson. If I have to make that choice.
And that's exactly what's going to happen tonight. And listen, man, I think that bottom six is, I don't want to say it's bendable, but you can shape it to your matchup.
True, but I'm saying, I don't think they have enough healthy bodies. Aren't both Anderson Dolan and Gustafsson going to have to play on either side with the Morgan Barron because the other guy's injured?
Yeah, because everybody else is injured. But I'm just saying, when everybody's healthy, you can do that according to the matchup. I think if you want a more speed and skill and straight line, I think that's where Gustafsson can kind of fit in. But if it's in the alley, in the back lane, rough and tough and rough and tumble, or however you want to talk about that, that's where I think Anderson Dolan fits in over Gustafsson.
Yeah.
And I think that guy like Brad Lambert realistically only fits in if there's an injury into the top six. To me, Lambert's shown all year that he can only be a top six player to be at his most effective. So I think putting in a guy like Lambert on your bottom six is doing an absolute disservice. Because I know somebody has
disservice. I don't know if it's a disservice. I'm just saying you're right. It's like putting a Perfetti on the bottom six. Like it's not his game, right? Like he's a skater, he's a scorer, he's skill. Now, if Lambert would go out there and say, "Coach, I don't care. I'll play fourth line. I'll be like Tanev," and he starts hitting everybody and forechecking and being a real pain in the butt to play against, well then fine.
But we haven't seen that. That's what I'm trying to say. We haven't seen that ability to do that on a sustained period, and I don't think the Jets are in the mindset, to be honest with, of making a skilled third and fourth line. That's just not where they are right now.
I agree.
In their incarnation of roster construction.
Hey, I just have to interrupt. I don't want to interrupt, but I have to. I got to get my power bar for the computer because it's starting to tell me it's going to go to sleep if I don't plug it in. So you keep talking about the next subject, and I'll be back in like 30 seconds. Okay.
Yep, no problem. So the interesting part is, just for me, even with the back end of the defense, I think you could put Miller in over Stanley, have a third pair of Shen and Miller, just so you have an option of a shot on the power play if and when that sort of comes to it. Are you expecting a rough game tonight? Why wouldn't the Jets simply skate St. Louis into the ground? I don't know. St. Louis has some guys that can rough and tumble that game if that's the way that they so choose to want to play. But again, I think this is the beauty of it. I think the Jets are that good that they can play any way you want. They can play it in straight lines running down up the ice, or they can play it the way they did in Vegas, just hit everything that moves, wear you down that way, and then those still guys are able to take advantage. I think the Jets can play it any way that anybody wants to play it when healthy. And I think it's whatever the opposition wants to do. the Jets will adapt. I think it starts with scoring the first goal. I
I
think
think
that's
so
why
too.
they've been so inconsistent lately.
Yep.
4-3 in their last 7. I bet you in those 3 losses, they didn't score the first goal of that game. I know they
I don't
certainly
think they
didn't
did.
in LA. They certainly didn't in Utah, and I don't know where the third one was.
No, I agree. I agree.
Buffalo, they didn't score the first goal either. So, um, yeah, it all starts with scoring the first goal. Every team plays their way when they score the first goal, and that's why, um, more specifically, win-loss records to the team that gives up the first goal don't look very good relative to when the team scored the first goal. They're whatever and whatever and whatever
Yep.
on their win-loss record. I think it changes the game that much more.
Yep.
But
I'm
I will say
expecting.
that.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I'm expecting a physical game. I'm expecting high speed skating, but I'm expecting a physical game. I think St. Louis just wants to really establish it. I mean, they're playing. It's such a cliche because you think, oh, they're pros.
Yeah.
You don't need to be that. You're not that vulnerable to confidence or lack of confidence. But you
Oh
win
yeah.
12 in a row. You win 12 in a row, and you think you're Superman. Like you think, man, we can't lose. Well, when you play that way, then you play a little bit looser. You play even tougher, more
Yeah.
hungry. Like you just go, go, go.
I mean, look at the Jets in
That's
their
good.
first 15 games, winning 14 out of 15.
Yeah,
It reminds me the same way of that,
yeah,
mindset, right?
yeah. So I would love to see the Jets. I hope they don't come out flat, but I agree with you. I think they're going to come out motivated because they want to make a statement. They got 5 games left. 3 of them, 3 out of 5 are at home. And winning tonight, I would argue, almost locks up first place because you go up 5 points on St. Louis and there's only
Yeah,
4 games left. Pardon?
yeah. But on Dallas, Dallas plays
Sorry,
Vancouver
in
tomorrow night
Dallas.
at
You got
home.
5,
So
right. 5 games or 4 games left, and you're 5 points up on the Stars.
and
I
a
don't think
head-to-head, so you can pretty
yeah,
much say goodnight.
but right. But even if the Stars would win on Thursday, then they're up by 3. If they win tonight, then they're up by 3 with 3 games left. And then
Yeah,
the Jets would have to basically lose out or only win 1.
right.
And then St. Louis, or then the Stars would have to win out in order to catch up 3 points,
Yeah,
right? So I'm just saying they got it. I think the Jets got to make a statement game tonight. They've been so blah. They've been on the road for a lot lately. They got to come out tonight, play sharp, play hungry, skate well, hit well. The power play has to be efficient. They got to earn some power plays by playing a little bit stronger on the puck. And yeah, so I know Ehlers is a game time decision. Do you know about Pionk? Is he also a game time, or he's not that
no, he is out, likely to return on Thursday.
Thursday? Okay, because I know he was skating with the team on the road.
Yep.
I know that.
Yeah, they want to give him a couple more days. Last thing for you, let's talk about the East and let's talk about everything else that's happened in hockey.
Okay.
38 minutes on the Jets. Things must be getting close to the playoffs if we have a lot to discuss.
Sure.
Give me your thoughts on Ovechkin getting the record-breaking goal yesterday. I was out yesterday, so I didn't see the goal. I happened to come back on my DVR and watch it back. What
Yep.
a professional fit-in way for Ovechkin to get the goal on the power play from the office, from Dylan Strome, from I think John Carlson might have gotten the third assist as well. Just typical Ovechkin, where he gets 200 to 250 of those 800 goals, maybe more.
Yeah.
890 or whatever he's at now. Very happy for Ovechkin. A record that I didn't think would be broken. The guy's doing it at 39. He's a 40-goal scorer now. Just ridiculous. And let's not forget he missed 3 weeks or a month and a half with a broken leg.
He would have had over 50 goals at this rate. Easy, he would have scored 50 at that age.
And then he'd be up for the goal scoring race as well if he hadn't missed those games. I'm pretty sure. But your thoughts on Ovechkin breaking the record?
It's amazing. I never thought, like, I think I've told you I was alive, not even just alive, but I was a young man when Gretzky set that record. That was, I think, 93 when he beat Howe's record when he was playing for the LA Kings. And I remember the goal. It was a give and go with Marty McSorley playing at home in LA. And it was exciting. And then he added a whole bunch of goals afterwards. And I thought, nobody is ever going to score that many goals again, because number one, it's hard to score goals. Number two, it's hard to stay healthy. And number three, it's hard to play 15 to 20 seasons in the NHL. So you think about those three factors, which you have to be that. You have to be a great goal scorer, have great health, and what did I say? A great score, have great health, and have the like ability to play for a long period of time, not just health, but also have the ability to keep your skill up, to be scoring
Right.
40 goals a season, or 40 to 50 for 18 to 20 seasons, right?
Listen,
So
they don't make many players like Alex Ovechkin anymore. The way
no,
he's
no.
built,
And I never thought it. And yet here he
to
is.
score.
And he's not, like, I thought there was a few years back where he was kind of slowing down. He was a little bit,
Yeah.
and he's getting injury plagued. And I just said, oh, Father Time's catching up with him. He's not going to do it. The record is safe. And it's like he's gotten better. He's gotten more healthy. He stayed healthy longer. Even, I mean, that injury, getting hit with, the leg being broken, that's just a fluke thing. But I mean, for him to score at this rate, he's scoring almost a goal a game. Like the last 3 weeks, he's just been on a tear, and he just it's just to score the goals. Even the goal yesterday, how many guys can shoot that short side in that little space between the blocker and the pad and the post?
From that area too. It's
In
not
that
like
area,
it's
in
in
that
front
little
of the net.
space, right? And aim it there and zing it there and get it there that quick that the goalie can't even get over it. It's amazing. It's a talent. It's just off the chart. And listen, he hasn't cheated anything. Records are made to be broken. As much
Mhm.
as I like the fact that Ovechkin did it, the other thing I like is how classy Wayne Gretzky is. Because
Yep.
some guys are sort of jerks. They don't say anything about a guy breaking a record, or they're kind of resentful, or they don't say anything. They're just quiet, and the guy breaks the record, and you don't hear anything. But Gretzky's a class act, and you know why? Because he's a class act. Gordie Howe was the same way. Gordie Howe was not jealous of Wayne Gretzky as Wayne Gretzky became, the greatest hockey player of his generation, and Gordie Howe kind of faded into the memory for people. And now Ovechkin's risen up. Wayne Gretzky hasn't played hockey for 20, 25 years. And now there's the next guy coming along, and he's great. And Gretzky's happy for him. And it should be that way, right? Especially when he's that good. Why be jealous, right? And so I just like it. It's just classy all the way. They stop the game. They have the ceremony. And you could say,
Oh, did we lose Red? Yeah, I think we lost Red. We'll get him back here. Yeah, it's interesting. We lost Red. We'll get him back. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, I think. Yeah, we lost him. We'll get him back when we can. Ovechkin certainly the best case scenario for hockey. Yeah, I'm just gonna touch him to make sure we can get him back on today. Just see a frozen picture. Oh, yeah, now he just dropped out. But yeah, no, I think Ovechkin getting the record and beating Gretzky's record was meant to be, and as Rich said, records are meant to be broken, and that's just the way it is. As well. I was gonna ask Rich next about the Eastern playoff race. Let's quickly talk about that. Right now, the Eastern Conference teams that have clinched playoff spots are Toronto, Tampa, and Florida. Washington and Carolina have also clinched on the cusp of clinching playoff spots. are Montreal, Ottawa, and New Jersey. So 5 of the 8 spots have been clinched in the Stanley Cup playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Right now, it looks like the Ottawa Senators, and this is a team that I wanted to talk to Rich about, on the cusp of not only clinching a wild card spot, but now being 2 points back with the same amount of games played as the Florida Panthers. So we'll see what happens there. Ottawa has, I think, one road game left, and they'll do that this week. When they take on, I think that road game is their next one. Yesterday it's in Columbus tomorrow, and then they're home to close out the remainder of their season to hopefully get what will be at minimum a wild card spot, but now it's looking more and more likely like it's going to be a potential to be the number two, number three, spot in the Atlantic. Maybe an outside shot at number 2, but there's a lot that has to happen. Looks like the Leafs are going to win their second division title, or the third division title since 1957. This also includes the Canadian division. So I don't know how much weight we carry into that division title race as well. So I think too, just tying it with Ovechkin, I think the Capitals are to be playing a lot better hockey now with Ovechkin at the record. There are some injuries. Alexei Pontus dealing with a laceration, and Logan Thompson dealing with an injury. We'll have to see if Charlie Lindgren and their AHL starter can carry them until they get back from injury. The other thing is the New York Rangers, Detroit Red Wings, New York Islanders, Columbus Blue Jackets are all teams that are presently outside of the playoff picture. Islanders have 76 teams played along with Detroit, and the Rangers, they're 6 back of Montreal, who've suddenly really turned a hot corner of late. Montreal looking to continue their run toward their first playoff spot. I believe they made the playoffs 1 year after going to the Stanley Cup final, but have not been back since. We're having some technical issues with Britt. I'm assuming he did come back in right away. Yeah, so we're gonna see what happens with that. I'm just trying to double check here, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Wow, it's just one of those days. Technologically, usually it's me, but anyway, we will. He's telling me that he's got internet issues, so we will see what comes of it as well here on the Ultimate Hockey Show. Just a quick thing as well. The projected playoff matchups look like they're going to be as follows, and they're directly from the NHL site. Give me 1 second here. I'm just going to try to pull this up. So the Oilers and the Blues can clinch playoff spots tonight. If the Stanley Cup playoff started today, it would be the Toronto Maple Leafs, Atlantic 1, taking on Wildcard 1, the Ottawa Senators. Atlantic number 2, Tampa Bay, taking on Atlantic number 3 in Florida. To be Metropolitan 1, taking on Wildcard 2, Washington and Montreal, Carolina and New Jersey. That seems to be the only playoff matchup locked in right now. We'll bring in Rick Petty in just 1 set in the West. As it looks right now, Pacific 1 will be the Golden Knights taking on the Blues. The Kings taking on the Oilers. Kings is Pacific 2, Oilers is Pacific 3. The Central 1, which would be the Jets taking on the Wildcard 2, the Minnesota Wild. The Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche look locked into the matchup, assuming the Jets can finish off the Central Division. Welcome back, Rich Petty.
Sorry.
No worries. Technology not our best friend on some days. Um, that's all fine and dandy there. I was just making a comment. You were talking about Ovechkin. I kind of finished off the conversation
Yep.
about Ovechkin. I was talking about how well the Montreal Canadiens have been doing. But Canadiens currently sits up on the New York Rangers. But I cannot, for the life of me, figure out how the Rangers have started out so strong, and now they've been fighting for a playoff spot, and they've been overtaken by the Montreal Canadiens of all teams. Um, no disrespect to the Montreal Canadiens, who continue to pull one out, but um, how have the Montreal Canadiens been doing this?
Yeah, I think a big part is the play of Suzuki and Caulfield. I just think those two guys are just they are drivers. They're just total. They're little guys, but that's Suzuki. He is a great centerman and he's crafty. He's good with a puck. He's not a big guy, but he's good. And Caulfield's a scorer. It's sort of like Scheifele and Connor when they're on their game. When Scheifele and Connor are on their game, they're as good as a 1-2 pairing as any pairing in the league. As good as Draisaitl, McDavid, or you want to say McKinnon. Who would you put with McKinnon? Makar maybe, or one of the forwards there, one of the other guys, or as good as Point and Kucherov. Like they just get it. They know how to play with each other. They know how to score goals. One sets up the other. One is more the sniper. One is more the setup man, but they can each score and they can each do setup. And I think Caulfield and Suzuki, they are carrying that team. That it's just, and they don't get down. They play a game or two where they're kind of like, not good, but it's because they're young. But then they bounce back and they're very resilient. And I hate saying that because I don't like Montreal as a team in general, but you have to tip your proverbial hat when somebody plays well. And so
Yeah, and they're playing well. And let's not forget about the Calder winner. I even did a done deal. Lane Hudson wins the Calder Trophy. No disrespect to Dustin Wolf. He reminds me of Cale Makar a little bit. Just putting up that offense, rock solid defense. Oh man, the Montreal Canadiens are going to be so good for such a long time, as long as they continue on the trajectory and don't let a little bit of playoff success derail them. The other team I wanted to talk about quickly, the Ottawa Senators. They are just rolling. I was talking to you yesterday via text message, and I said, well, maybe it's time, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, maybe it's time we start talking about Tampa Bay, Ottawa, and Florida, Toronto. Man, oh man, have the Panthers kind of fallen off a little bit. I look at their line score. They've lost their last 3 games. They're 0-4-2 in their last 6. What has gone on in Pantherland, and what has gotten into the Ottawa Senators to now make a push for 3rd in the Atlantic?
Yeah, I know. And wouldn't that be like, it's kind of interesting because I was really hoping it would end up being Toronto, Ottawa, and then Florida, Tampa Bay in the first round, right? That would be really good. The Battle of Ontario and the Battle of Florida. But it's kind of interesting. If it ends up going this way, you could have both Ottawa and Toronto knocking out the Florida teams, right? And then meeting in the second round. Right?
Yep. Yeah, it could be. I don't think that's what's gonna happen, to be honest.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think Toronto did play Florida. Florida did beat Toronto in 7. To me, I know the conspiracy theories out there. Paul Maurice's comments last night were fine. Things are fine. Guys are getting healthy. Things are fine. Tells me they don't exactly care where they sit. The Leafs are in very good position. Now they play in Florida tomorrow. Tampa tomorrow, Florida on Wednesday. Or no, Florida tomorrow, Tampa Bay on Wednesday. where
Yeah.
they have a chance to win the Atlantic Division by winning both those 2 games. Um, like to me, Red, this is unbelievable. Number one, what the Leafs have done, and number two, what that whole division could look like. Because realistically, you could go into this next little bit of a stretch here. Granted, the Leafs have pulled away a little bit, but for a time it was, the Leafs up and then Tampa and Florida 2 points back. I still think those Atlantic positions are interchangeable with Ottawa. Like, listen to this, Red. Ottawa is 4 points back, same amount of games played as having home ice in round number 1 against Tampa.
Yeah.
Who would have seen that coming
I
just
know.
3 weeks ago? Like, but I think, to be honest with, and I was reminded about this. No matter how the playoff picture ends up, the stronger teams will, more cases than not, rise to the top regardless of where they finish. And that is why I am not liking a matchup with the Florida Panthers if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs, regardless if I win the division or not.
Yeah, okay. But it's kind of like the Jets, right? Like you're going to play the Florida either in the first round or if they win in the second round, right? It's the same for the Jets.
Right.
Like you can't avoid Colorado with Dallas. You
Right.
can in the first round if you play Minnesota, and if you beat Minnesota, then you play the winner of Dallas, Colorado. So that's fine. It's the same thing. Like you got to go through either Florida or Tampa Bay, which are two either reigning Stanley Cup champions or champions in the last 5 years, right? So I don't know. To me, but just on another note, we're talking about this. Ottawa, you're right, has played so well lately. They've played really well. The Kings have played well. That's fine. I'm just looking at the power rankings. Again, this thing makes no sense to me. Washington is the second best team in the league, and they're 11th in the power rankings. The Jets are the best team in the league. They're 5th. Tampa Bay isn't even in first place in their own division, and they're number 1 in the power rankings. I don't get it.
Well, the only thing is could that be based on past performance?
Well, it's based on but they have a whole bunch of metrics. They go into the average goal differential, expected goal differential.
Oh yeah, analytics, nice.
Right? But that's how they kind of say the strength. But to me, like you could go always average goal differential. Like, okay, average goal differential, expected goal differential. Like the Jets, their average goal differential is the highest of any team, and yet their expected goal differential is one of the lowest. So why they're still like Tampa Bay, Dallas, Vegas, and Colorado. The Jets beat Colorado a week and a half ago. They beat Vegas last week.
Mm-hmm.
They have to still play Dallas, but just saying 2 teams that are above them are ranked or they've beaten in the last week or 2. Like this whole power rankings thing, I think the Jets have only been like they've been in first place with them or Washington almost the whole year. And I think the Jets, the number of weeks they were in the power ranking, I mean, you could probably count them in one hand. It's maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Like it's just funny. I don't get it. I think the Jets get even the stats and the metrics, they have a personal animosity against the Jets because even the metrics don't favor the Jets, which makes no sense because it's math. And you figure, how can math be subjective? But somehow I think it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. The only thing that will matter is in the middle to late June if you're hoisting the Stanley Cup, and only 1 out of 16 teams is going to be able to do so. So, but again, by that same token, you play 82 games for the right to get there. So if you go 2-80, you're not getting there, right? So
you're right.
Just as an example. So
yeah, we should probably talk about the week that is to come
for
the Jets.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next.
They got 4 games in the next 8 days or 7 days. So 7 days.
Yeah. So what do you think going to happen?
Well, they got home St. Louis, on the road with the Stars and the Hawks, and then at home a game on a back-to-back with Edmonton, which again, Mr. Schedule Maker, I think you need to drink a coffee before you do these things, because they have them at Chicago on Saturday, and then on a back-to-back flying home, going through customs to come back to Winnipeg to play Edmonton on Sunday night. They'll get like 5 hours of sleep, even if it's their own bed. They could play on Monday night because then they don't play Anaheim until Wednesday. It makes no sense to me why they're playing on Sunday instead of on Monday night. That's just dumb. But that being said, they're at home with St. Louis and Edmonton, on the road with the Stars in Chicago. They have to go 500. They have to. They cannot go 0-4. They can't go 1-3. They have to play 500 hockey and keep the pressure on the Stars. What will they do? St. Louis, Dallas, Chicago, Edmonton. I think they're going to go with 2-1-1. That's what I think.
You want to know something absolutely idiotic and wild?
What?
After playing the Jets in Winnipeg on Sunday, the Oilers turn around and play the Kings at home on Monday at 9:00, in what would be their biggest game of the season, to maybe once and for all decide who gets home ice in that series.
Right.
I don't understand the schedule. It makes me
Yeah, but just
crazy.
wait. But that's at least you're not going through customs. The Jets are in the States on Saturday, then they have to fly home, go through, because that's always the big hassle, going through customs. That's another hour, all the documentation, blah, blah. It's not even an afternoon game on Saturday in Chicago. It's an evening game. They're probably not going to get home till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just stupid. It's just dumb. But anyway, I think they're going to go 2-1-1. How about you?
Oh, I'll make this proclamation. I don't know what the Jets' record is, okay? But I'll say this. Next Monday, when we're sitting here, a win on Wednesday will get the Jets the conference, the division, and the President's Trophy.
Okay.
There it is. I said it.
Okay. I like
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
And listen. Listen, I also...
Sorry, I just want to say, just really quick reminder, the game tonight is on Amazon Prime, not on the TSN. So, sorry, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say something. The Jets, in my mind, okay, this is just for me.
Yeah.
When the Jets play good teams such as Vegas, it brings out the best in them. After the Jets play a crappy game, more times than not, they bounce back. I expect them to bounce back tonight, and I expect them to have an even better performance in Dallas. Whether they win or lose, doesn't matter. I just want them to be playing the right way going into the playoffs. And yes, please, Calgary Flames, get in the playoffs and beat the Minnesota Wild. I don't think it's going to happen. They're 6 back with 2 in hand. Crazier things have happened because Minnesota goes to the Saddledome on Friday. But I can hope for a Jets Flames first round. Not likely to happen, but I want it to happen.
Okay. Well, at least you're honest. There you go.
I'm on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are back next Monday in our regular slot with a playoff preview with a date to be determined. Rich and I will talk about that right when we get off the air here. So it looks like we're going to have 2 shows next week. Double of us as we get ready for the playoffs, which is set to start on Saturday, April 19th. All right, on behalf of Rich Petty, who's back from vacation, and it seems like his internet has taken an extra long vacation, but that happens. We will see you next week. Good night from Winnipeg. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.